and welcome to the Bot Box. Some robots really do not need introductions. We'll talk about a few of these as this series goes on, but today I'm going to introduce you to the evil bar spinner named Carbide, which really needs no introduction. Carbide is a flat black and green triangular robot, invertible and armed with a horizontal spinning bar of death. Its team was a combination of two teams, and between them they'd had experience on Robot Wars, the Live Circuit and BattleBots with Tiberius, Turbulence and Cobalt respectively, and also Beta in one of the years when it had to withdraw. Carbide made its first appearance in Series 8 Heat A, the very first episode of the reboot, during Vertical Spinner the General, Axebot Bonk and Scuba Lifter Behemoth. It was a varied field for Carbide to start off with, plus the General had big exposed wheels. Perfect target for a spinning bar of death. And the General were already scared of Carbide. Carbide went after Bonk at once, giving the Axebot a few hits with the bar before hitting the General. Carbide turned its attention to Bonk after this. Behemoth then kindly opened the pit, which was the cue for the wise advice of "don't go into the pit" at Carbide. Instead of driving into the pit, Carbide removed one of the General's big exposed wheels. Carbide hit the General whilst it was chilling out on the flame pit, whilst Behemoth overturned Bonk. Carbide added insult to injury and hit Bonk one more time. With the General unable to move really and Bonk unable to self-right, Carbide went through to the round robin stages. However, it was a poorly Carbide that went through, facing weapon motor issues ahead of it fighting Axebot Terahertz. So the first thing that happened was Terahertz executing a perfect box rush, hitting Carbide so hard it was sent flying and landed upside down. Terahertz refused to leave Carbide be, pushing the spinner around the arena and even into the pit release tower, which of course opened the pit. So Terahertz pushed Carbide into the flame pit and Sakilot, where Carbide got stuck until Sakilot freed them. So Terahertz pushed Carbide into a wall and into the pit. Cue a big yes at Terahertz and no points for Carbide. Next up was Flailbot Nuts and its mini-bots of doom. Carbide hit Nuts a couple of times before the third hit took out Nuts' protective ring, leaving Nuts bereft of any form of attack or defense. Oh, well, this is more than a scratch, isn't it? So, Carbide pursued Nuts around the arena, even making like it was going to open the pit, whilst the crowd chanted Carbide's name. Nuts got hit into Sakilot, followed by the pit release tire. Carbide then hit one of Nuts' now exposed wheels so hard that it flew out of the arena, with a large motor attached as well. As Nuts was being counted out, Carbide hit one of Nuts' mini-bots and also shunt. But that wasn't all it did. One piece of Nuts' outer protective ring hit the other control booth. In the interview, Team Carbide joked about putting their bar on Nuts to help them in their third fight. As a note, Nuts would become a vicious bit. No. That's for later. So Carbide got 3 points and next faced Behemoth. Something they helpfully reminded Behemoth's team of whilst looking at what was Nuts. Behemoth would not let Carbide hit anything other than the scoop, its normal tactic when facing spinners of the horizontal persuasion, and one that had worked for them in the past. But Carbide was a different beast. After the action took both robots close to the pit release tower, the pit was opened, and it became clear that all these hits were taking a toll on Behemoth. It had taken a chunk out of the scoop, and another hit put Behemoth on its side. Behemoth struggled self-right. The next time they were on their wheels was after Carbide had landed Behemoth in the pit of oblivion. So that was another 3 points to Carbide, first place in the league, and a spot in the heat final. Their opponent? Well, here's a quirk of the round-robin system. Thanks to Nuts taking Terahertz to a judge's decision, and Terahertz being in joint second place with Behemoth, it went to a tiebreaker, which was their round-robin fight. That was won by Behemoth, so therefore they got to fight Carbide. Now you know. For this fight, Carbide had new tyres, bright yellow, and they would stick with Carbide for the rest of its run. Carbide hit Behemoth on the side and the scoop, which gave Behemoth major movement issues. Behemoth was also right next to the unopened pit of oblivion, which never helps. Carbide managed to keep them there by hitting them and open the pit. Another hit on Behemoth nearly flipped Carbide over because Behemoth tried to flip them. Carbide's blade was also disabled, but this was rendered a complete non-issue when Behemoth reversed into the pit. So that took Carbide and its death hum into the grand final, and impressed me enough for it to be one of my 3 picks for the title that year. Its first fight was against Lifter Shockwave, and one of my other picks for the title, Flipper Apollo. The prospects of leaving in a bin bag had been discussed at Shockwave. Carbide went for Shockwave at once, but Shockwave showed no fear and shoved Carbide across the arena and into shunt. Carbide then hit a wall panel and it came off. They hit one of Shockwave's wheels, which caused some damage there, and got flipped by Apollo before cease was called for safety reasons. However, because of the Carbide-induced damage, a Shockwave was forced to withdraw. So Carbide was through to the round-robin stages. First up was the Hammer Axe of Wildcard Thor, my third pick for the title. Carbide hit Thor's anti-Carbide plate right away, sending Thor to the floor flipper, which turned Thor over. Once the hammerbot, now with a pointy hamhead, had self-righted, Carbide went over to Thor and hit it, taking out one of Thor's wheel guards. Another hit got the other wheel. The next hit took out the anti-Carbide plate. Another 2 hits messed up the front and turned Thor over. Thor self-righted, but died soon after, one wheel hanging off. So that gave Carbide 3 points and a fight against Apollo. Apollo, like Terahertz, elected to do what is known as a box rush and turned Carbide over without using their flipper. However, this meant they took a Carbide hit which affected their movement. Carbide hit them again and missed an axing from Shunt when they got too close. And that killed Apollo. Carbide hit Apollo one more time and took another 3 points. Next up was another flipper in TR2. Once again, TR2 went after Carbide right away, sending Carbide to one side. Carbide was quick to remove a piece of sacrificial armour from TR2, and another hit dislodged another piece of armour, as well as send TR2 to Skillot. TR2 escaped only for Carbide to hit them again and send them right back. Once again, TR2 escaped and opened the pit. They followed this up by flipping Carbide over, at which point Carbide's spinner slowed to a stop. So TR2 shoved them into walls and pursued them, Carbide around the arena, causing Carbide to get flipped by the floor flipper. 3 times, in fact. So TR2 pushed Carbide towards Shunt, even flipping the spinner into the house robot. Though Shunt missed every time with the axe. TR2 flipped Carbide over, and being so close to the arena's edge, Carbide may well have been in danger of leaving the ring. But it stayed in, only to get pushed into Shunt. This time, Shunt's axe found its mark. Carbide did escape, but TR2 returned them to the house robot. Once again, Shunt's axe hit, but this time it hit TR2. This did not deter TR2, who simply shoved Carbide into Shunt one last time. Shunt was busy turning Carbide over when time ran out and the judges were called in. They ruled in favour of TR2. Still, despite the loss, Carbide were in the final round and only one win away from being able to call themselves champions. In their way was Apollo, and Apollo were out for revenge. Apollo started in the same vein as the earlier fight, shoving Carbide, but this time Apollo sent Carbide into the Kill-A-Lot. Once Carbide was free, Apollo flipped Carbide into the air. Carbide's spinner was still working though, and it did hit Apollo, but Apollo kept going and tossed Carbide into the air. Carbide landed spinner first, which never helps. Nor does getting flipped multiple times and the spinner going down again. and also getting flipped into one of Apollo's earlier victims, namely Shunt, does not help either. Carbide got axed for its trouble. It escaped, though only for Apollo to flip it again. So Carbide, trying not to get flipped, opened the pit. However, one miss and one flip later, Apollo's flipper was stuck open. Apollo sent Carbide to Shunt only to get axed for its trouble. Both robots escaped, only for Carbide to get flipped again, and Apollo's flipper to get stuck open again. Carbide then chased Apollo around the arena. Carbide then chased Apollo's. However, Carbide fell foul of the floor flipper and got flipped by Apollo, causing Apollo's flipper to get stuck open again. Apollo shoved Carbide into Shunt for one last axing as time ran out and the judges were called in once more. The judges went for Apollo. Still, coming second at the first attempt is pretty good. Next up for Carbide was Series 9, where it found a home in Heat E. This time, Carbide had improved its weapon motor, but was a team member down. In the first round, it drew Flipper Mega Mouse, Axebot Trolley Rage, and Clusterbot Crackers and Smash, a lifter and a drum spinner respectively. Carbide's first target was Trolley Rage, hitting the air front and dislodging a piece of armour. Carbide then hit Smash, Mega Mouse and Charles the Cheese, Mega Mouse's mini-bot, before landing a second hit on Trolley Rage, and that took the Axebot out of commission. Carbide then went after Smash before it ran away. Smash, that is, not Carbide. So Carbide went after Crackers and made some lovely sparks. Meanwhile, the pit was opened. Carbide went after Smash once more before along came Mega Mouse and an attempted flip. Carbide wasn't having any of it. Off came a wheel of Mega Mouse, and that was the end of the robotic mouse. So Carbide went through to the round robin stages. First up was the defending champions Apollo. But really, that was the draw. Apollo attempted to get a flip in on Carbide, but failed and turned themselves over instead. Apollo self-righted only to get hit by a barrage of Carbide hits, even after it was clear that Apollo had died. The immobility count saved them though. They moved once more before the countdown finished and got hit again. And also Apollo got barbecued too by Sir Killalot. Thanks for that. So Carbide got 3 points. There were some faux dramatic tears at Apollo. And Carbide next faced Crackers and Smash, who had elected to remove their weapons in a bid to protect them from Carbide, because you can't hit what's not there. Both Crackers and Smash took hits from Carbide, but Smash took the brunt of the hits when Carbide ended up sitting on Crackers. Smash then got flipped over by the floor flipper and rescued its teammates before opening the pit. Crackers took a few hits before Smash got hit so hard that it flew across the arena, hit the arena wall, took out the panel and sent Smash flying. cease was called at once. Cue an evil laugh from Team Carbide, though it won't win the evil laugh award. That was decided a few heats prior. Crackers and Smash then forfeited the fight to protect them from further damage, handing the 3 points to Carbide. Next up for Carbide was the Grabber Crusher Coyote. At this point, Coyote were effectively out. They were fighting only for pride, and Carbide was as good as in the heat final. Although Coyote missed Carbide with their first charge, their second attempt came good, and they sent Carbide across the arena, even bouncing it and causing Carbide to land spinner first. But once it settled, the spinner spun up and the death hum that accompanied it rang out. Coyote, after driving into the wall, then took a direct hit from Carbide, sending it straight into the corner. The corner occupied by Sir Kill-A-Lot. So Sir Kill-A-Lot picked Coyote up, barbecued it, and dropped the unfortunate Crusher. Carbide then hit Coyote several times, taking out one wheel and killing Coyote. So, 3 more points went to Carbide. Cue more faux dramatic tears at Coyote, and Coyote was declared to be modern art. So next up for Carbide was Apollo once again, which was the cue for a war dance at Apollo. Carbide and Apollo both went on the attack, but Carbide was causing all the damage. Carbide did spend a brief time balanced precariously on the top of Apollo, but recovered to hit Apollo several times, killing them. So that sent Carbide to the grand final. Meanwhile, Kill-A-Lot barbecued Apollo again, because why not? In his first group battle, Carbide faced a spinner fight versus fellow horizontal bar wielder Ironside 3 and drum spinner Concussion. Carbide went for Concussion right at the start and opened the pit. Concussion were down to one wheel after this, so Carbide hit the back of Ironside 3, wreaking havoc on the Streamic. Ironside 3 and Carbide then teamed up to have a go at Concussion, Carbide delivering the blow that sent the drum spinner to shunt. So Concussion got axed and counted out. So Carbide were through to the head-to-heads, the round-robin stages. First up was an old foe in a new form. Shockwave's successor, the vertical spinner Aftershock. Carbide made contact with Aftershock first, removing half of Aftershock's top armour. Another 2 hits caused Aftershock to stop moving. Carbide weren't done though. Nay, they went after Aftershock's side panel and removed it after a cluster no bomb. That was Aftershock. And the stricken vertical spinner was counted out. That side panel landed in the bulletproof glass. Carbide hit some more, Aftershock some more. Obviously, Carbide won that fight and got 3 points. We have to adjust something though. It's time. Modern art segment. Oh, wrong one. That side panel landed right way up and was nothing short of a message. Aftershock, like Carbide, had got 9 points in the round robin stages of its heat, and Carbide made modern art out of them. Next up was Eruption, a flipper. Carbide hit Eruption twice, but both times the hits sent Carbide flying. Undeterred, Carbide hit Eruption until some kind of gas, vented from Eruption, killing it. Eruption flipped itself in a desperate bid to prove it was still alive, but landing on Carbide's weapon made matters worse. Cue hysteric, oh well, Eruption. And another 3 points to Carbide, and a place in the grand final. Next up was Ironside 3. Carbide got the first hit on Ironside 3, but escaped to get a hit of its own. After the getting tossed by the floor flipper, but landing on its wheels, Ironside 3 took a number of Carbide hits and ran off. Carbide followed and delivered more blows, stopping the weapon and sending Ironside 3 to shunt. Q axing and Ironside 3 ultimately escaping. The next blow from Carbide killed Ironside 3. So that was another 3 points to Carbide. Then it became clear that Ironside 3 had come very close to taking out Carbide's weapon chain. Another tiny amount, and it could have been a very different story. But Carbide were in the grand final after that. The grand final. Once again, they were a fight away from being able to call themselves champions. Once again, a flipper stood in Carbide's path, this time Eruption. Carbide hit Eruption at once, delivering the flipper to shunt. Eruption avoided getting axed, but didn't escape multiple blows from Carbide. An attempted flip missed, which meant Eruption got hit some more. Eruption was even flipped by the floor flipper, but just got hit again and again. Gas vented, but Eruption, in a show of defiance, flipped Carbide. Not over, but it flipped them. Carbide hit Eruption a few more times, and Eruption died. So Kilowat then went after Eruption, but Carbide was having none of it. It took on Shunt and Sir Kilowat at the same time. The attacks took out Carbide's weapon, but no matter. The crowd were chanting Carbide's name, and they were now the champions and given the trophy. So, on to Series 10 and the defence of their title. Carbide landed in Heat B, the heat of death. In the first round, Carbide drew Big Nipper in vertical spinner mode and a Mace Bot in the robot Gabriel 2. Gabriel 2 had also brought legalised entanglement devices. Carbide went after the robot Gabriel 2 first, but it escaped to give Big Nipper a hit, severely hampering it. So Carbide went after the robot Gabriel 2 and took a chunk out of one of its massive plastic wheels. Another hit took off more wheel, and Gabriel 2 released a Rokehouse robot whilst busying itself with Big Nipper. Carbide stayed away wisely. Then Big Nipper got counted out, leaving Carbide with only the robot Gabriel 2 to fight to avoid robot redemption, a new format for Series 10. So Carbide hit Gabriel 2's wheels some more, taking chunks out of the wheels, but Gabriel 2 was still moving. It was doing exactly as it was designed to do. And it hit Carbide a few more times too, taking a chunk out of one of Carbide's tyres. A piece of tyre that Carbide got beached on. But with one wheel on the ground, Carbide got free, with some difficulties, to attack the robot Gabriel 2. That attack turned Carbide over. Carbide then hit Gabriel 2 and Shunt in turn, but each attack on Gabriel 2 sent Carbide airborne. In the process though, Gabriel 2 lost what was left of its entanglement device. It gave Carbide another solid thwack and opened the pit of oblivion. Carbide then hit Gabriel 2 some more, even sending the mace spot to Shunt. Gabriel 2 still did a good job of staying alive. Carbide delivered one more big hit to the wheels and time ran out and the judges were called in. One thing was clear. The arena was a mess. All those bits of Gabriel everywhere. The judges went for Carbide, so he dodged to robot redemption this time. But going into the heat semi-final, they realised they've got some serious battery issues. And that semi-final was against Aftershock. They brought along an asymmetrical bar spinner in the bid to get revenge for the modern art. As well as that, after consulting my magic 8-ball, which was a mistake, I'd predicted Aftershock to win the heat and Carbide to come third. Carbide got a hit in early on, as did Aftershock. One of Carbide's hits turned Aftershock over, but self-righted. However, Aftershock's movement was impeded. Both robots could still deliver the hits though, and both did. But one hit sent Carbide flying and immobilised Aftershock's weapon right there and then. One more hit killed Aftershock atop the pit of oblivion. This time, there was no modern art. Minutes later, the magic 8-ball was fired from all robotic combat predictions. So after that, Carbide was in the final to face Eruption. You see why this was the heat of death? Eruption tried to go into a flip, but Carbide escaped to hit them. A few hits did a number of Eruption's movement, taking out one wheel. Eventually, they hit Eruption's other wheel, killing Eruption and sending Carbide to its third grand final. Awaiting Carbide in the first round were some old foes from Series 8, specifically Nuts 2 and Behemoth. Now, just a note before I get any funny looks, this fight aired after I pulled Behemoth's name out of the box. I pulled the slip out literally the day after Behemoth when it's heat. So that's why I didn't mention it way back in episode 4, because I didn't know. Carbide focused on Behemoth early on as Lifterbot sent them both to Secure Lot. Both escaped and Carbide delivered a hit to Behemoth's scoop. Whilst Carbide was hitting Behemoth, one of Nuts 2's mini-bots opened the pit of oblivion. One of Carbide's hits landed Behemoth on the pit. So when the pit descended, Behemoth went down. So that left Carbide and Nuts 2 to fight each other. However, Nuts 2 promptly hit Carbide with one of its flails, taking out the defending champion's weapon chain. This meant that Carbide were now bereft of their weapon. No spinning bar of death. Nuts 2 delivered several hits to Carbide, though it did get flipped by the floor flipper. To make matters worse for Carbide, it was being pursued by one of Nuts' mini-bots. So Carbide released a rogue house robot. Nuts 2 had to escape Kill-A-Lot before it unleashed the fog of war. Once the fog cleared, the mini-bot, the same one that had opened the pit, wedged itself under Carbide, and the judges started to count Carbide out as immobile. But with 1 second left to go, Carbide freed itself. It still had a wheel on the ground. So Nuts 2 hit Carbide some more, and the mini-bot chased Carbide around the arena. No, you have not been transported to a mirror universe. This happened. Nuts 2 hit Carbide a bit more before time ran out, and the battle went to the judges. The judges, unsurprisingly, ruled in favour of Nuts 2, after how close Carbide came to being KO'd. That's right, Carbide's winning run had been brought to a screeching halt by Nuts 2, who Carbide had trashed before. This is what I mean by Nuts 2 becoming a vicious spinner. So that sent Carbide into Robot Redemption, where it faced the flipper, Rapid. Rapid brought an entanglement device to the fight, not the party. Rapid went in on the attack right away, delivering Carbide to Shunt. On its escape, but Carbide hit Rapid on the front. So Rapid tried to flip Carbide out of the arena. They was too far away from the arena's edge for that to work. But they did invert Carbide. So Carbide took out one of Rapid's side panels. Rapid got a flip in, but it was followed by the magic smoke of death. Carbide got another hit in, which took Rapid out. Carbide got another hit in as the flipper was being counted out, and the magic smoke of death was then accompanied by flames. Rapid's lipo had gone. Team Carbide requested marshmallows. I don't think lipo smoke is good for marshmallows. So that sent Carbide through to face Nuts 2 again. For this, Carbide put on a new chain guard made of a piece of Rapid. It even had property of Rapid written on. Nuts 2 got a hit in right away, getting a few hits in on that chain guard. Then Carbide got a hit in on Nuts 2's protective ring, that which holds the flails, and half of it came off. Nuts 2 still had the other flail though, but Carbide sent the flail spinner into a corner whilst Nuts 2's mini-bot set off the fog of war. Once the fog cleared, Carbide delivered another hit to Nuts 2, which took out any kind of control, ultimately killing it. Carbide then released wreaked revenge on the Ninja Minibot. So once again, Carbide stood on the brink of the title. They were a win away from becoming only the second robot to successfully defend a Robot Wars title. In their way was the Flipper that, though defeated in the heats, had turned it all around by winning the 10 Robot Rumble to get the wild card. After that, it hadn't suffered another defeat. Its name was Eruption. Eruption elected to drive head-on into Carbide, a tactic which meant Eruption took several Carbide hits. But it kept going though. Eruption's flipper didn't appear to be working though until Eruption flipped Carbide a good way across the arena. Another flip turned Carbide over and stopped the weapon. Carbide's weapon, that is. So Eruption delivered Carbide to Sir Killalot via the Flame Pit. Both escaped and Carbide's weapon spun up once more to deliver more hits. So the fog of war was unleashed. Once the fog cleared, Eruption delivered Carbide to Sir Killalot, only for both to escape. Carbide got flipped by the floor flipper. Eruption flipped Carbide again. Carbide delivered more hits to Eruption before getting flipped another 3 times. Eruption flipped itself, this time not landing on Carbide's weapon when it self-righted, and got in another flip on Carbide. Carbide flew air floor flipper and air Eruption before the flipper, Eruption that is, chased them as time ran out. As soon as the fight went to the judges, I knew that Eruption was going to win. Though I did have Carbide predicted to come second overall when I was making the grand final predictions. The judges ruled in favour of Eruption. When I first saw Carbide back on TV back in 2016, I said it reminded me of Hypnodisc. That's, spoilers, my favourite robot. And I can't give much higher praise than that. I can understand comparisons with BattleBots' Tombstone. I'm not sure who would win if they fought each other though. And Carbide's place in the Combat Robot Hall of Fame is absolutely justified. It's deserved. Although I have flip-flopped over rooting for Carbide, ultimately I do still like it. I just wonder how many nightmares that death hum has reverberated in. That was a long one. Who's next? Don't have anyone for this one, but we have this one. See what we have. Spawn of Scudder. So, the last of the Scudderbots. Well, the middle one, but the last one we're covering here. Until next week, Callison244, out.